Hudson and Scotty Beanie, the therapist. I'm Hudson Hot, Scotty Blaisdell, my partner, and our incredible therapist, Alan Wagner. We're going to get into no phones, no filter, just talk today. Because you know what? I think that we're in a world where everybody's just multitasking these days. They're scrolling, they're doom scrolling, half listening. And I think that maybe it's a slow death that we've been experiencing over the years. And I think I miss the real conversations. And it's one of the things I get to actually look forward to when we do this podcast, real conversations, almost like the one we were having off air prior to this. So let's talk real conversations.
Okay. Well, I was talking about, I have this back issue that I've had, and
Yeah.
Hudson has a shoulder issue. You get to a point in life where you just talk about your ailments constantly with other people. And Hudson
Alan's got a
offered
neck issue.
Hudson offered an interesting solution for some of my problems. And what was that, Hudson?
Well, come on, you know me. I'm a giver. And I was explaining that, with this torn rotator cuff, not much can be done other than I found a position if I lay on my side and Alan sticks his thumb in the spot and like does a thing for a little bit,
Hmm.
gives me a little relief and I'm able to fall asleep. I offered to let, Alan jump in bed between you and Angie and you just roll over on your side and he'll do his thing.
Yeah. I'm going to run that past her later on, see how she feels about it.
It would just be for about 10-minute intervals, Scotty, so that, if you were to wake up in pain or something like that, I'd be there in the
Yeah.
kitchen if you need me, but I wouldn't
Just
have
sit,
to lie
you'll
next,
just
I
be
wouldn't
sitting in a chair watching me, watching us
watching
sleep.
you, waiting for the moment that you need me.
Not
Yep.
not weird, not weird.
Not weird
Honestly,
at
I
all.
tell you something, one of the funniest things ever. And again, we're having real conversations. This is just us, okay? But it makes me think of something that Alan invented, and I thought it's a great idea. Another idea that we're going to throw out to the general public and somebody's going to run with it. Scotty, what do you think about this? A lot of couples, they don't spoon, they don't cuddle. A lot of people are missing that in their lives, right?
Hmm.
We had this mattress. It was like 10 years old, but it wore out after 10 years. And what happened is it started to have a dip in the middle.
So it forces you together, is what you're saying.
Alan, you explain it. Yeah. What was it called? Alan wanted to call it the what?
The V mattress. It was like whether or not you like it or not, you're cuddling together because the V mattress, the shape of it would naturally roll you into your partner, whether you like it or not. So that way, you don't have to get into arguments. You don't have to, it's like you're there and it just happens by itself.
Well, how about the soft taco? Could we call it that?
We could.
Soft
I was
taco.
never set on the name V mattress. I was already like kind of like in my head mapping out the infomercials on it. But the soft taco sounds good too.
Again, if you're in the market for a mattress and you want some loving, look for one that's like 10 years old because you will roll to one another and there's no escaping.
I
Yeah.
bet you can find one on the side of the road
You can.
during bulk pickup.
I bet you
Just hose
can.
it down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's fun having the conversation. Going back to what we're going to talk about today, this is the kind of thing we are missing in our world where you just sit there and kind of vamp and play off of each other. There's
Right.
usually in my experience, there's usually an agenda, like let's resolve something, let's talk about this thing, but just to sit and casually chat, that's missing.
It is missing, and it's the thing that I so look forward to and yearn for all the time. And whenever we're done with this podcast, whether if it's like, I mean, our last few have been really deep, Scotty. I mean,
Hmm.
crazy deep. And even after these emotional podcasts that we've done, I still walk away feeling good. And I think that's something that we have all forgotten about because you and I and Alan, we've been doing it. What are we at? 56 episodes of Hudson and Scotty Beanie to Therapist?
Yeah, so it's up in the upper 50s.
Maybe like that. And again, if you're new to the podcast, hi, I'm Hudson, Scotty Blaisdell, Alan Wagner, legendary therapist. We're hanging out, we're talking. We'd love you to talk with us. But I miss the days, Scotty, also of calling up my friends and getting on the phone and talking for hours.
Why is this happening? What is going on, Alan?
Alan, maybe you know better than we
If
do.
I can jump in, the last weekend or so, I've watched Hudson just be on the phone with people for an hour. People from California that she hasn't talked to in a while. And I've watched, like, it's not that they can do anything to change your life, but you share an experiences. And I've said to her so many times in life when she's doing these voice texts or texts, I'm like, just call the person. Like, why, if you know that they're online with you, literally responding in real time, and neither of you are like at work or something at the moment, why not just call them? Why does it always have to be these voice texts and text messages? And when people get into real conversations, that's when the tangents, like the one we're having, happen. It's like you can go into any direction. And that's what it used to be like, when I was first talking to a girl or when I was meeting a friend. And you see, my younger son actually is very upset about this. They're pulling it out of the schools for this very reason. Kids weren't talking to each other anymore. And by pulling it out of schools, not just like locking it down, but locking it in these packs so they can't have access to it, they're watching children that weren't talking, middle school kids, high schools, like they're all talking together. And it's
But
awesome.
when you're saying pulling it out of the school, you mean the
Right.
phones?
The
Like those
phones?
little pouches. Yeah, those little lock
Oh,
pouches.
like
Like,
the ones that we would get at concerts for these
correct.
private shows.
Or yeah, or comedy shows or whatever, like those lock bags. And you get it at the end of the day, but you have no access to it during the day. And as a result, the kids were using it in class. I'm sure it was affecting learning, but socially as people, like you see how people are so uncomfortable in person of a certain generation. Do you know what I mean by that?
100%. I see it all the time.
So putting people without a phone in a situation where they have to have full attention and actually engage and actually share back and forth like a tennis match, it's great experience for business. It's great experience for life. It's how we make friends and it's how we get close to people.
How many times, well, I may be telling on myself, do you actually go to the bathroom without your phone nowadays?
Let's
I don't
let's
know
all
how.
be honest here. Alan will
Okay.
spend
All
an
right.
extra 20 minutes. And I say at a point where I'll go, everything okay, Alan? Because he's in there for a really long time with his phone. I don't think there's ever been a time I've seen him go to the bathroom without it.
So you're confessing for him, not
Oh
yourself.
yeah.
Apparently. No, I think sometimes it's like the old days of magazines. You ever watch Married with Children? And Al Bundy would always grab that magazine or newspaper under his arm and then he'd walk into the bathroom and it was this thing. And I think that cliche of like, I used to walk in people's houses and there were stacks of magazines in the bathroom. I don't know about you guys. You remember that? There'd just
Oh
be
yeah.
stacks of magazines in like a little basket above the toilet. And you could just read magazines while you're doing your thing. And so the phone kind of replaced it. It's not that I'm talking to people while being in the bathroom. It's just a chance to, probably go over emails and read weird articles and probably doom scroll, as we were saying before. But it's just to sort of make the time go by. But it does make the time go by too long. And it's probably better not to have a phone in the bathroom.
Scotty, what about you?
Yes, I'm completely guilty. And I knew we were going to talk about this, and I wanted to just say at the front of this that I am Scotty B and I have an addiction, and it is my phone. I cannot. Like I went to talk to my wife earlier just about something, and I felt in my pocket as I'm walking from one room to the other, do I have my phone with me
Mhm.
in case I'm in there for a while? And I'm like, what is wrong with me?
My older brother, I remember asking him why he was on Facebook so often, and he said that it was unconscious. Like he would pull out his phone, it would unlock automatically. He would immediately tap into Facebook, like almost like rote memory, like muscle memory. And next thing he was in it, and he didn't even think about it. And it was just so automatic. And I think it's like that for a lot of people on social media or just their emails or their texts. It's like before they know it, it's open. It's not even ringing or buzzing. It's just them doing it. And I know what Scotty means. I've been in that situation too, where I'm leaving to go somewhere and it's not even for a long period of time, but I'm like, oh shoot, I need my phone. And in fairness, my phone starts my car. So if I'm driving, I need the phone. But there's a lot of times where I don't. And I bring it anyway.
I might be the only female on the planet. I can leave my phone home. Like Alan and I could go out. Alan, you know I can do this all the time.
You
I'll
can.
go outside in the backyard and we'll be talking and I'll say, oh, look this up, see, because we'll talk about something. And they'll be like, get your phone out. And I'm like, it's inside. I
Right.
literally can leave my phone.
Remember, I think it was 6'7" we were talking about. Do you know what that is, Scotty?
What is 6'7"?
No, what is that?
It's a TikTok trend, and South Park did an episode about it, and it's been coming up all over the place, trying to get people to say 6'7". But we can get into that in another podcast. But anyway, yeah, that's what we were looking up was what is 6'7".
But I didn't have my phone. But isn't that insane? But it's true. I mean, the first thing I do, and it's just like maybe your brother, and I think it's just out of habit. I'll open my phone. The first thing that'll pop up is my Instagram because that's the only place I pretty much live. And it's there, and I'll look, I'll check my message, and that's pretty much about what I do. But I don't have to take my phone to the bathroom. I think that might be a boy thing.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's bizarre, and I'm confessing my weakness because I want to change it.
Mhm.
But I think when you wake up first thing and you turn on your phone, you're inviting outside influences to determine your day, to have a say on how you start your day, how you're feeling that day. you know
Yeah.
and you're pursuing it. It's not pursuing you, as Alan referred to earlier. So I know it's a me problem, because how many of these things are really coming at me without me searching them?
That is so insightful, Scotty, what you just said.
Yeah, it really is. And but again, I know where your brain is at because as of recently, because we both you and I will wake up really early at like 4:30 in the morning. It's just habit from doing a morning show together. He'll send me like a video or a meme, and it's actually pretty funny. So it's actually what you've been sending lately brightens my day to some extent because it's funny stuff.
I'm glad my addiction benefits you.
Yeah, it's been helping me.
I think in my job as a private practice person, since I'm not like a salaried employee, it's like every time I wake up, I don't know if there's new sessions coming in. I don't know if there's sessions canceling, but it's true what Scotty said. It's like you checking your email on first thing in the morning will determine your mindset sometimes of whether you think it's going to be you looking forward to that day. It's going to be a great day. And then suddenly an email comes in and it's a bill or it's something later in the week and it can just sour you. It's like, do we avoid our mail or do we open it? In real life too. If you're listening to this, you probably have a stack of mail sitting on your kitchen counter. Have you opened it? I don't know.
I think there's a word that it's biblical. It's debauchery,
Mhm.
and anything that you're really overdoing is debauchery. And I think sometimes we think of it as partying and drinking and whatever, but I think the digital lust that we have, for lack of a better word, we're in debauchery with technology right now.
I
I
agree.
agree. I agree. That's why I think that part of me over the last year started leaving my phone. No matter what's coming in, nothing's going to change what's happening currently present in this moment that I am doing. Yeah.
But we are the last generation, I think, that really did things pre-smartphone era. So we can put our phones away and engage in the world and be present in a way that I don't know that a younger generation is even capable of doing anymore because they've
Mhm.
been exposed to screens since they were in preschool. And so
Yep.
as a result of that, and I know, and I probably said this in other podcasts, I have clients that work for Meta, who work for Apple. They do not let their children use the devices of their own company. They are very well aware of the addictive components to it and the negatives as far as socialization and the ways that people, even just on mental health, depression versus feeling good about yourself. There is such a connection between those things. And the people who work at tech companies know that, and yet we all use it. And so for us, it's great. We can put our phones down, we can talk to each other because we were raised on bikes, talking to kids, talking to strangers, you and I, Scotty, probably having to walk up to girls to get their phone numbers and talk to them in a strange place. All of that was normal to us. And for them, like putting them in a place where they have to talk to an Uber driver or ask a question at a restaurant for an extra fork. It's like, can you ask for me? Can you ask them for ketchup? And it's like, what? But at the same time, I feel like they're living online in a very scary way. And so I agree that we have to sort of figure this out as a society, but I do think it goes through generations.
So, how did we go from connection to content? Because to me, that is what it feels like. I feel like no matter what it is that you are doing,
Mhm.
before you're even doing it, psychologically, and I'm speaking for myself, you're already thinking about the content that you'll get from this
Mhm.
and the next post that you'll be doing before you're even doing the thing. And I believe it's a mindset that I think all of us have right now.
Well, I appreciate what Hudson just shared, because it really is in the back of my mind. I'm walking with my family and I'm looking for photo ops. I'm looking for how I share what we just did. I'm thinking,
Right.
and I'm like, why am I tempted
Correct.
even to do that? And how can I escape that in my mind? And I think that's why we have a therapist.
I'm so guilty of it. And
Mhm.
again, part of for you and I, that was part of our requirements for our job. We
Yeah.
had to do X amount of posts per day. So I don't know if that has just become my life for so many years. I mean, I did this job for 30 years, right? So it's just once social media came on board and everything else, maybe that's my mindset, but I really am trying at times to put it down. But I'm still back on it. The minute I'm back in, boom, I'm right back on scrolling. What am I gonna post? It's like I need real conversations like this. Yeah.
So what Scotty was saying, I think that it's true. When people are doing experiences, it's like, how do I take a picture? And it used to be just for ourselves of like, oh, look, it's me and my kids, or it's me and my partner, and we'd go develop it and we'd have it in a photo album. But now it's to show other people. And I saw that we had a date night on Saturday night, and there was a couple opportunities that the photo stuff didn't work. Either we were going in and we were getting seated, or the sun was going down at the wrong time. And I saw how she got visibly frustrated because the photo wasn't going to be what in her mind it was supposed to be to show the actual event in its best light. And then she quickly got out of it, which was awesome because she just enjoyed, became present, enjoyed the dinner. And it's like, yes, we didn't get a picture of the dinner. Okay. Yes, you didn't get that picture of this, but it still really happened. And we were still really there. And yes, there was a picture that was cute of us together that if people want to see that we were on a date night, they can. But not every picture is going to be the perfect picture. And sometimes you just got to stop with the phone and the camera and just enjoy your dinner, enjoy your hike, enjoy the beach, whatever it is you're doing.
I'm torn because I feel like I'm the family historian
Mhm.
and I'm the one that needs to take the pictures, or pictures aren't going to get taken. And we're going to miss these moments of my grandkids doing a certain thing or discovering what a beet tastes like for the first time and saying it's disgusting. And I'm loving them more because of that, because they're just like me. But
Scotty
Sorry.
hates beef.
Sorry.
but
I'm part Russian.
Despises
Sorry.
with a passion.
I'm not a
but I
beat.
had but I have that I have it on video and it's great. So I think there is a time for those things, and you need to kind of have history of some of the things that you did. I wish I did from when I was a kid. I have nothing from me as a kid.
I know, neither do I.
But look, and as a personal disclosure, my parents lost their home in the Palisades fire. And so all of my photos are gone. Every aspect of my childhood, all the way through, is gone. And it's a weird thing because that was a generation that didn't have it digital. So there is no backup copies. They're all gone. And one thing I will say about Hudson is she's really good at being that historian that you're talking about, Scotty. And I try to be too, but she's really good at it. And she
And
has
it's
to
not,
sometimes
by the way,
preface
excuse
it
me,
to
I don't mean
me.
to interrupt you, but it's not just for posting
No, 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 that's what I was going to say.
content.
She will say to me, for us. And then I'll be like, okay. Because a lot of times there's just stuff for us. We're going to have our own tapestry of a life, and not everybody has to know about it. And it's not that it's secretive, but it's personal. And again, that's why when I see really personal things sometimes in social media, I kind of get queasy. But again, there's going to be things that where she's not going to look her best. I'm not going to look my best, but it's still part of our history.
Yeah, I do
Maybe
too.
that's the crucible here. Maybe it's where's your attitude or heart as you take these pictures? Is it for you? Then take them,
Yeah.
have that memory because some of us, frankly, are forgetting things,
Yep.
and as you age, you want to look back and go, oh, yeah, we went there and I remember that.
Correct. And it's not about how you look, but I completely understand. And because I'm the same way, like, oh my gosh, Alan, I don't like this picture. Do it again. Try this way from this angle. And it's funny because I think women are just so much more critical of their body image and how we look. Because if I look at some of the pictures that Alan has hearted, the ones he loves, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the worst photo of me. But yet Alan loves it and he thinks I'm beautiful. And that's all that matters, you know?
Well, I will tell you, as Alan, you probably know this true to be true as well. If it comes to a Christmas card where you can send out a picture, it doesn't matter what you look like. It matters what she looks like.
You're absolutely right. And she knows this, so she handles all my social media for the most part. That I don't get a say usually in whether I think I look good in the picture or not. It's just a matter of what she likes. But I honestly don't care as much because that's not where I'm going to get my validation is from people online. It's going to be in real life.
Well, I want to make sure that we do circle back because we're obviously talking about something to do with the phones, which
Yeah,
is taking the pictures, but also that part about conversations. And I think we've uncovered part of the problem is that we're thinking about sound bites like the news. We're thinking about the post. We're thinking about the image, and we don't know how to really be vulnerable and ugly in front of other people and really talk about real things anymore because we're we're trying to portray an image, I think, and we have to have people in our lives that we can say, "Hey, let's talk about anything," and no matter where it goes, you just go there.
How do we get it back?
Look, you got to schedule the time with your friends of when you can really talk. A lot of times you have 10 minutes. There's not much you can get into in 10 minutes. So with my friends, it's like if I can't talk to them one day, I'll give them a day and a time. And that way at least I know I have an hour to get into stuff with them without feeling like I'm just checking in. But I also, to that point, do think that it's important to realize like there's an intervention. I won't get into the whole intervention today just because it's too long. But part of the intervention is you can't talk about your jobs, you can't talk about your relationship, you can't talk about your family, you can't talk about your friends, you can't talk about what's going on with their relationships, you can't talk about sports and what's going on with the Dodgers, you can't talk about movies, what's coming out, you can't talk about politics or rallies that just happened or anything like that. The only thing that you're allowed to talk about is you for 20 minutes. And I think that when people are in positions where you take the crutches out of life, those easy conversations about the weather, about your job, about traffic, about what's going on with your car, things that are not personal, that don't connect us, and you take all of that out, that's how you really know a person. That's when the conversations open up into really cool places that can change the trajectory of your life maybe philosophically how you think about things. But
Can
those
you
are
give us an
real.
example? Can you start it off? Just give us a little, talk to us. Give
Okay,
us like a
there
minute
was
of Alan.
an example of that was is that I remember doing this at one point, and not to talk about my ex-wife or anything like that, but I remember I was a big biker growing up. I grew up like living Stranger Things on my bike. I was out until dinner time. My parents were not like hovering over me, and a lot of the times, I'd sneak out, go to the train station, go to New York. My bike was my freedom. It was like a lot of kids, I think, of the early '80s, mid '80s, and during that time period, for me, I remember sharing like on one of these conversations all of my biking experiences of biking from Montreal to Boston, of biking to jobs, of biking to, you name it. And I remember her looking at me at the end of my conversation saying, Alan, it's so weird. I've known you for years and you've never even had a bike. Why? And I had to explain that it got stolen in college. I moved to LA. There was no place to keep it. There was no storage units. Nobody I knew rode bikes. And she's like, well, we have kids. Why don't we get bikes? And so we did. And I just remember riding with my kids and riding around the area and riding down hills really fast and putting the bikes in the back of the car and taking it to parks and stuff and having so much fun with it. And how would biking have come back into my life if I didn't have that conversation? And I
Mm.
think those are the things that sometimes come up where you're like, you know what, I could take more photos, or I don't know why I don't see this friend as often as I used to because it made me really happy, or this was my hobby, and I think we all get locked into adulting too easily.
It's interesting you say that because recently, and I don't know if I shared this on the podcast, but my son Brandon was here in the driveway doing some work on a car, and we got to talking, and I mentioned something about an ex-girlfriend from high school, blah blah, some weird story, and then he turned to me and he said, I don't know things about you. Like an ex-girlfriend, I never even thought about that. We need to have more times where we talk about, I want to know about you and your early life.
Mhm.
And I thought, well, that was interesting because he's actually pursuing it. But would I have thought that that was important to him? Probably not. That's why I never shared anything with him. But it was a great moment of us really
That's a great
connecting.
That's
moment.
great. Well, look, I think we should remember that we're social animals, that when you isolate human beings, we become depressed. We saw that during COVID, and we've seen that in many situations that a human being, even with tech and talking on digital stuff or whatever they're doing on social media, they are depressed and they're alone and they feel extremely lonely. And so putting people in positions where they can be heard, whether they make sense or they don't, where their emotions can be put on the table. And I encourage therapy for most people, honestly, but a lot of people will never go to therapy. And if you're not going to go to therapy, your friends, your good friends, your family can be the sounding board of helping you to understand your thoughts and your feelings so that you make decisions as opposed to just paralyze yourself, with a tech device. You're actually doing things and you're developing insight into your talents.
I like what you said to do. I wonder if you're just doing it with a friend or a
Yeah.
relative, if you should lay out these ground rules
Mhm.
verbally and just say, let's try something. You can't talk about, and you just go through the things you can't talk about. Now, let's look at each other and talk, and just make it almost like a fun challenge. And
It could be.
I bet that could open things up.
Well, that's when you start talking about what it's like to be a husband, right? And that's when you talk about what it's like to be a father. And that's when you talk about what it's like sometimes to try to balance a budget or to live your dreams or what you're aspiring to do or saving for. And I think those are the conversations that inspire us. Those are the conversations also that put a mark down. So the person who's telling you about it, there's a high likelihood they'll do it. Once you start telling people you're going to go do something, you tend to do it. And so I really like those conversations. They create accountability, they create insight. And I like what you're saying, Scotty, which is let's put our phones down. Let's not talk about the bullshit. Let's talk about being real. Let's talk about who we are as people. Not everything is great at work. Not everything is great at home. Not all of our kids are perfect. But can we just still talk about the things that we're happy about and proud of, but the things that we miss and we'd like to be better at?
Instead of sending that text or that
Oh, yeah.
voice text, pick up the phone.
A text isn't going to do that. You know that.
I had a relative. This just happened a couple of days ago. I had invited to come here for Thanksgiving, and I was kind of waiting on a response. And he texted me something about, "Do you have time to talk?" And so I said, "Yeah." So he calls and he says, "Well, how you doing?" He starts just talking to me about stuff, and I'm waiting for his response on Thanksgiving. And I go, "Did you get my text?" He goes, "Yeah, but I don't like texting." And and so he kind of forced this conversation, and we had a great conversation. But my nature was just waiting for a response, and then let's move on. He's coming or he's not.
Well,
It was great, but
I,
it was uncomfortable, but great.
By the way, where's my invite for Thanksgiving? I'll wait for that.
Hey, we're doing deep fried turkey again.
Really? And you're not going to invite us? You're telling me now
You're
that,
absolutely invited.
are you just saying that because we're doing a live
No, you
podcast? Because
really
I really
are.
will get in the car.
No, you guys are really invited, and I have a Murphy bed for you to sleep on.
Alan, we're going to Scotty's for Thanksgiving.
I
I'm coming. I'll bring some
Okay,
sides.
all right.
But again, it's interesting because like, your friend says, I don't text. And there are so many times that people will, even when it comes into your business relationships, let me just bring this up because a lot of times people will write an email to a boss saying, look, I need to get a bump up in pay, whatever, whatever. And you're going to get immediately shut down because it's just a quick da 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 da. That person's reading it. Oh, yeah, here they go again. But if you are sitting down, having a conversation, how are you, Scotty? How's the family doing? You guys good? I mean, the cost of living is going up and my family's feeling it. I feel like when you can sit down and have a heart to heart with that person and say, I'm barely making it. Is there something I can do? Maybe you can't give me a bump up, but maybe you can find me something else that maybe I can add to my. These conversations can possibly help you. Real conversations face to face.
was just going to say human beings are so non-confrontational in the sense that when you put them in a situation, they usually acquiesce and say yes. So if you put in person and you ask a boss or you ask a friend for a favor, the high likelihood is they'll say yes. If you ask them in an email or a text, they might be able to wiggle their way out of it. But in person, when you're actually sitting there with them, there's almost like this feeling of not wanting to let you down or whatever it is. And they tend to say yes way more often than in a digital thing. So people should keep that in mind, I think, a lot because doing
Well,
things in person is huge.
it's funny you say because this is a very extreme example, but I've heard of this like when someone is taken hostage, that
Mhm.
if you can talk to the hostage taker and make yourself seem more human and connect with them on a human level, they're less apt to do harm to you, theoretically.
No, I think even when it
Yeah,
comes to
I would
therapy,
believe that.
there are certain people, who can live a very balanced life and can do well with online therapy, which is a lot of what I do. But I also feel like it's easy to lie in therapy if you're doing online individual therapy. And you're not as vulnerable as when you're sitting in the office and they're staring at you and they're asking you questions that you have to answer. It's a lot safer, when you're in your room. And so I think for individual therapy, sometimes, depending on how often, you've known that person and the type of person they are, maybe. But I do think that there's a big difference between having a conversation with a real human being and them asking you questions. You're way more likely to be honest.
I know we're getting close to the end of our time
Yeah.
together, but if you were going to leave us, Alan, with a suggestion to do something different with our lives right now to affect that, and tell me, because I'm the addicted guy, I've confessed that up front. What do I do?
I think Scotty, like that, what you said earlier stuck with me, and it's kind of similar to what I kind of already do with my friends, is pick some friends that are really close to you. Pick some friends that know you're good and you're bad. They're not just cheerleaders, they'll hold you accountable, but they're people that you trust and that you know that they love you, really, regardless of whether you're perfect or not. And make sure that you have the conversation with them sometimes that, like, I want to have these conversations, kind of like what I said. We're not going to talk about this, we're not going to talk about that, but it stays between us. It's just verbal diarrhea. And if I want to vent about Angie, no offense, Angie, it doesn't mean that I really think those things about Angie. I may be frustrated with her that day. And it may be a good friend of mine that gives me perspective on all of the things that I shouldn't be frustrated with, or ways that I can sort of make changes so that I don't get as frustrated. And also, a lot of times, the frustrations I might have talking to a friend, I may hear stuff about their wife and be like, oh my God, how lucky am I? So again, I think sometimes it's about perspectives. You can't just look at social media, which is always perfection. Sometimes put your phones away, tell your friend, we're not going to do this over phone. Schedule times when you're free to talk for at least 45 minutes to an hour. Maybe it's a commute, maybe it's a Saturday, and give them the time to get into what's going on in their life, really. And I think
I
that
like it.
matters a lot, and that's how we become close.
There's some good takeaways. I'm going to try the not talking about anything that has to do with my job, kids, anything. I'm just going to talk for 20 minutes, Alan. Get ready for it. Real conversations that don't just fill the silence. It changes who you are when you walk away. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. Hudson and Scotty B need a therapist. I'm Hudson Hot, Scotty Blaisdell, the one and only Alan Wagner. Be sure and like and subscribe and share with a friend. Until next time, peace in the chicken grease.
See ya.
See you guys.